Are you ready to do this right now? Ladies and gentlemen, from the Munsters, Mr. Butch Patrick! And the crowd goes crazy.
Okay, well, I'll talk enough for both of us. Yeah, we got a sound check.
Check. We're on. How you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Great.
Weren't the kids great? The School of Rock?
School of Rock.
Yeah, let's hear the School of Rock. Come on.
Yeah.
The young kids play Beatles music. It just doesn't get any better than that.
Butch Patrick's a rock and roll fan. I know you're a Beatles fan too.
Well, you know, I'm a Beatles fan. I'm a Monkees fan. You know, a lot of people may not know that I did the Monkees Christmas episode. As a 14-year-old kid, that was like the coolest thing one could do is to go back to junior high school and say you spent the week working with Mickey Dolenz, Peter Tork, and the rest of the guys.
Wow. Well, now you can see over there, back there, Mr. Sid Bernstein is dancing over there, the man that brought the Beatles to America.
You know, I heard the name Sid Bernstein. He's something to do with music, right?
Right.
the British invasion should have been named the Bernstein invasion.
He brought the Beatles to America, Carnegie Hall, Shea Stadium.
Along with the Stones and Herbert Turner and a bunch of other people.
Right.
A couple unknown bands.
Right, Mr. Legend. I actually sat down in the lunchroom one time and said, you know the Munsters? He couldn't remember it, but I love the Munsters.
Well, when you have that many people in your life, it's hard to remember everything.
Wow, you know what? Let's talk about the Munsters. I love that show. Who loves the Munsters? What a show. Now let me say, it ran 2 seasons and about 55 episodes. Right?
Well, you know, actually, you're close. We did 39 episodes the first year. We did 31 for a total of 70 episodes.
70.
But yeah, back then, 39 was a full-time job for a year.
Wow. You know, there's so many, back in New York, I live in Westchester, we've been there my whole life. Back through the 60s into the 70s, and I think part of the 80s, Channel 11 was rerunning the Munsters every single day in the afternoon with Batman and a whole bunch of other shows.
Well, you know, the 60s, I mean, they talk about the golden age of television being, the 50s, which I do agree. But the 60s, at least up to where it became color, and the Munsters were the last 2 years of black and white, it was definitely a solid silver age of television programming.
Absolutely. People, it's like people talk about colorizing certain things. They've actually digitally colorized the Three Stooges from the 40s. How would you feel about colorizing the Munsters digitally?
Well, certain film mediums, I think the black and white genre works really well. Like movies, for instance, of Raging Bull, Paper Moon, In Cold Blood. I mean, there's just certain movies that color, in my opinion, the black and white genre just works well. And the Munsters were filmed at Universal Studios, which was known as the Monster Studio. I mean, there's certain studios that musicals, certain studios that this, certain studios that that. But the Munsters, Universal, the series was done with the classic Frankenstein, Dracula, Vampira, Wolfman, Creature, the monster movies, and they were all done in black and white. So I really look at the Munsters. If they would colorize it, I don't see that happening because it should stay as it was in little Mickey movies, and it was shot like little on film, by the way. So it's not like mini motion pictures.
Wow. Yeah, that's right. We got to keep thinking. This was started in 1964. We're off on 66. You say, where were you in this time? 1964, I was 5, 6 years old. So you got to think about where you were in that time, for the time frame. What the Beatles were doing. No questions yet.
And ladies' room is out there.
We'll get to it. Don't worry. And that's right. I was doing TV commercials, toy commercials in the same era. You look at these things now. One from Upper Toys. You look at these things. My God, I was in this thing 40 plus years ago. But I think it's fair to say, in a different kind of way, Butch Patrick is an iconic kind of guy. In his 50s right now.
Yeah, I'll be 57 August 2nd. One day.
Happy birthday, Butch.
Oh yeah. Woohoo! It's still here. Who would have thought?
Right. I gotta do one thing, I'm sorry.
You do that very well, but you're about 2 feet too short.
I'm 5'7". Now let me see. Some people say in the outfit, Fred Gwynn was 7 feet or 7'3".
No, he was 7 foot. He was 6'6" and a half in his stocking feet, a very thin 6'6" and a half. And when he put the shoes, the boots on, and the headpiece, which added about an inch, he was 7 foot tall. But in 1964, a 7 foot tall man, was a really tall guy, and I was only like this tall to begin with. So it really played well with the, and then the camera angle shooting, from here to there. Like Al Lewis is 6'3". He was a big guy.
Really?
The next, I mean, you look at the poster I have over there.
Right.
He's like crouching down because Maryland is like only like 5'7" or 5'8". But I'm standing up, I'm standing tall. Herman's sitting down, and I'm just as tall as he is.
Well, I might just snatch that poster out. I'll tell you, if you're not around it, if you see it not there, you know who took it.
Yeah, it's a great one. I get people who want to buy it from me all the time.
It's unbelievable looking at that.
I just love to show you how crazy some Munster fans are.
Well, you told me once that some of the makeup for the day was done in blue, some was done in green.
That's a pretty accurate representation. Grandpa was a little bluer, Herman was a little greener, Lily was a little sort of beige, or not beige, but more of a ivory color, white chalk color, and I was sort of in between. We all had different, we had the Westmores, the kings of the makeup in Hollywood. Mike Westmore was my makeup man, who went on to win the first Oscar for Raging Bull, and then Al Lewis had Purse Westmore. Bud Westmore ran the studio, and we had a very big budget for a TV show. Between the special effects, the cars, the guest stars, we had an incredible list of guest stars, top-rated stuff. So we were an expensive show to do. So I was very lucky to be around a lot of quality stuff.
Well, speaking of guest stars, I remember Jesse Owen, the Maytag guy, was on. And
Jesse White.
Jesse White, yeah.
Jesse Owen, well, he was in the Olympics.
I was thinking Beverly Owen. I think I confused the two. And you look at that, and they're trying to get Herman to walk out, get into an accident, and just wouldn't listen. He goes, all you gotta do is just walk out the door.
Whoa. And Herman goes, what's my motivation?
Favorite episodes, the Shutterbug, when he's taking pictures. I mean, there's so many episodes.
Well, we had Don Rickles, who was the dance instructor. We had Frank Gorshin at Fairfield Dan that sold Herman a bum car from Maryland. Paul Lynn, that was Paul Lynn as Dr. Dudley. We had Dom DeLuise, who replaced him as the first time ever on television. I mean, we were Louis Nye as Zombo. The list goes on and on and on.
Zombo, is that one of your favorites?
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. Eddie's nickname is one of my favorites. Zombo and Hot Rod Herman, when we went to the drag strip, is one of my favorites too.
It's kind of funny, when you still Louis Nye backstage with all the makeup off, you said, uh-oh, here comes reality.
Yeah, and then we had the Standells come on and play Beatle music for some reason.
That's right.
They didn't play Dirty Water, they played Beatle music.
They actually had...
They did it very badly.
They actually had Eddie Haskell, Ken Osmond.
He played the sorority, the fraternity prank when they put Herman into a sorority house.
And Don Rickles, of course, one of my favorite comics, was told Herman, your dancing is terrible. But how did you do that effect that the LP actually came off, evolved in midair? It looked like an LP was actually floating in midair. It
was funny. On Monday and Tuesday, we would read and rehearse without makeup, and I would go over to the special effects team, or the stage, and they were always working on things. And the guys that went on, the names were Chuck, I remember correctly, it was Chuck and Steve, and they went on to work for George Lucas and Steven Spielberg. So even though they were early in their careers, the quality of their work went on to put them into the high, the echelons of the best in the business. And it was Chuck and Dave. It was Chuck and Dave, and they both went on to work for Spielberg and Lucas, respectively.
Unbelievable. Yeah, the guest stars. I actually read that behind the scenes Munsters, but I think it's like you would never know that Herman's outfit, because of the boots were killing his feet, he was dehydrated because it was so hot. Yeah, he was a very thin guy, and then he had this thick full rubber suit that he had to wear, and during takes, during breaks, he would take off the top half of the suspenders, and they had an air hose that he would have. God knows where he's putting it. But it cooled him off, and he had a lot of lemonade that was like 8 feet up, where he could only reach for himself. Wow, things behind the scenes. And the makeup every day, listen to this, from what I understand, was 3 hours to get into the makeup and a 12-hour shoot. Explain that. How exhausting is that ever been? Well, as a kid, you can only work 9 hours. So, for me, I never had that problem. But he would get there at 6 a.m., he'd be in makeup until about 8 to 8:30. It was 2 to 3 hours, depending on the day. During the day, though, you had constant 15 minutes here, 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there. And then on Friday, they would work until they were done. I'd have to go home at 6 p.m., but they would often work until 2 in the morning. But the good thing was we were only making 3 days a week, which made it somewhat tolerable. Right. Wow. That's amazing. Somewhat. Tell us something a fact about the Munsters, or better yet, tell us some behind-the-scenes stuff that most people don't know.
Well,
No, good
I was
fish.
11 years old, so I didn't do Maryland. Although, she was a very attractive woman. In fact, my first date, there was two Marylands, the people that are Munster fans.